Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm going to ask everyone to turn off or silence all cell phones, electronic devices. Thank you.
We begin our service of memory for Kenny Schwartz by expressing our love and support for his beloved family, who are everything to him, and who we surround with love today. Sharon, Ava, and Max, your loss is monumental, and we are here for you. Lisa Bremer, Kenny's sister, and Dave Bremer, we are here for you as you mourn your brother. Mark and Susan Green and Marilyn Silverberg, as you mourn your nephew. Lee and Lisa Green, and Jake, Will, and Tilda. Cindy and Andy Green, and Harrison and Alex, Rob and Emily Green, and Lila, Oliver, and Nellie, and Jay and Starla Green, and Nora, Helena, and Louisa, Paul and Iris Silverberg, Heather and Roger Resnikoff, and Norma, Lena, and Rachel Lena, and Ryan Lena, and Blake Ratner. We are here for you as you mourn your cousin. We remember Kenny's parents, Sharon and Stephen Schwartz, though no longer with us, a cherished part of the family circle. And we include Sharon's mother, Tanya Friedman, her sister, Veronica Edelman, Jake and Josh. We know you feel this deep loss, and we are here for you. We are also here for our love of Kenny, which united us while he lived and will not end now that he is gone. We are here to honor the companionship we shared with him along life's path, and which now continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all of this, we give thanks. When the world is unfair, when someone who is too young, too vibrant, and too important to our everyday lives is taken from us, we struggle to find words. So we look to the poets for help. Chana Senish. There are stars whose light reaches the earth only after they themselves have fallen and are no more. And there are people whose scintillating memory lights the world after they have passed from it. These lights, which shine in the darkest night, are those which illumine for us the path. Rabbi Sylvan Camus and Rabbi Jack Reamer. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. To begin to find words for how we will remember Kenny, we invite those who knew him best and loved him the most to offer their reflections. So first we invite Sharon, Ava, and Max, Kenny's wife, daughter, and son.
My Kenny, my KK, my soulmate, my best friend, my love of my life. We met 26 years ago. In fact, I believe it was Bashert, meant to be. The summer of 1999, I was applying to work for a summer job down the shore, and the HR director said to me, "What do you really want to do?" And I said, "Marketing and advertising." And she said, "Call this great guy, Kenny Schwartz." He was at the time in the field. Well, I never made that call because I was a bit shy. However, a year later, I was at Maloney's in Margate and saw this tall, dark, handsome boy come through the doors. And I told my friend, and she went right up to him and told him that I thought he was cute. I was a little mortified, but I was okay. And later on, I realized it was the same Kenny that I had the number for. We talked a lot that summer, and then the following summer, we met up again at Rock Lobster, one of our favorite places in Philadelphia. He called me, and we went on our first date in August 8th, 2000. He was so sweet, thoughtful. He bought me flowers when we went on dates. He made music CDs for me, and he just was so caring and loving. And at the same time, he was sarcastic and witty. And that's what made Kenny Kenny. We had great times together. We both shared a love of the beach, especially with family in Ocean City and LBI. Concerts, warm weather, walks in the city, and now in Florida, watching sunsets, eating at great restaurants, hanging out with great friends, dancing, Philadelphia sports, and of course, our love for our beautiful children, Ava and Max. Kenny was a family man and adored Ava and Max and was a super involved dad. He was up at night with them when they were babies. He potty trained them because I didn't have the patience for that. He helped with homework. He went to as many activities as he could get to watch Ava in gymnastics, softball and basketball, Max in soccer, basketball and flag football. He coached Ava for several years for the Bells softball team in Fairmount, one of his greatest joys. He coached Max on the Yukon travel basketball team and the rec basketball and flag football. He so much enjoyed this time. He was always so encouraging and taught the kids to practice and work hard, but to have fun and not to take life so seriously. For Kenny, besides our wedding and the birth of our children, the day the Phillies won the World Series and the Eagles won the Super Bowl were probably one of the top moments in Kenny's life. That smile of his that so many of you knew was so bright. Last year, Kenny got to go to the game for the National East Championship. He was so proud. They won. They were going to the Super Bowl. He also, 2 Sundays ago, we watched the Eagles game together one last time. Before he passed, he still was able to watch some TV and have a little joy. And now Max is in Kenny's memory playing fantasy football with Kenny's close-knit circle of friends and making him proud. In fact, Doug called me and was like, "Why did we have Max join? He's beating everyone." Currently, Max is in first place, and he's really making Kenny proud. We had the best of times traveling on vacation with the kids. Our last one was in March of last year, right before he got sick, when we went to Vegas. Really was the time of our life, because Kenny got to go and see March Madness with Max and Sid to see Yukon playing, and they also got to meet the team, which was so cool. We took a helicopter ride to the Grand Canyon, which was just breathtaking. It really was one of the best trips, and spending time with our friends was everything to us. And Kenny kept a very close group of friends from high school. He loved them and was very loyal to them. Kenny loved to cook. Cooking was therapeutic for him. He watched the Food Network often. In fact, that's what he watched in the hospital too. Even though he couldn't eat, he watched the Food Network. And often got inspiration for different techniques. One of his favorite meals was to make a brisket using the sous vide. I know some of you have gotten a chance to taste that brisket. It is the best. He would go to Reading Terminal and get the best cut and made this amazing rub and then smoked the brisket. He was the happiest making dinners for us and took pride that he would make a homemade meal for us every night and that the four of us would every day sit together for dinner every night and just catch up on our day. He did this till he was admitted to the hospital and made dinner for us and used whatever energy he had to make it and then to sit down with us. I will cherish those days. And luckily, thank God, I can cook now because I actually got to spend time watching Kenny cook, because otherwise we would starve. He was a fantastic cook. Kenny taught me so much in life. He taught me to enjoy the simple things. He enjoyed that in life and was not wrapped up in keeping up with the Joneses. He loved his family. That was the most important thing to him. And he just wanted to enjoy life in the simplest of ways. I think that's why we love living in this city, because it really was simple. We just walked everywhere. It just was easy and great. And he loved his family, and he just wanted to enjoy that life. When we were on our honeymoon in Maui, I remember he said to me, "You know what, Shar? I'd be so happy to just have a studio in Maui and have a surfboard and ride the waves." And he tried his best to ride the waves of life. He taught me to be authentic and real. Kenny had to grow up at an early age. He learned the lesson early on that not one superficial thing can bring happiness. He was authentic, and if you knew him, you knew where you stood with him. He did not tolerate drama because he knew all too well not to sweat the small things in life. He also had a really great intuition about people and was highly emotionally intelligent. He could tell the good from the bad instantly. Another thing I learned, that reality is not romantic. Kenny was an IT professional, yet, like many in the field, knew the downfall of electronics and social media. He was never on social media. He never bought into it. Of course, I did. I was on it. And he would always say, "Shar, this is not real." And no matter how someone portrays their life, that reality is not romantic. That life is not perfect, and life can be very complicated, but to be strong and to be happy with what you have. Kenny, reality is not romantic right now, and life, as it is beautiful, is yet complicated, and the truth is, it's very unfair for us right now without you. But I will look back and remember the happy times that we had together and the lessons you taught me in life. I leave you with the Pearl Jam lyrics from the song Just Breathe. Kenny loved Pearl Jam and would go to every concert in Philadelphia. One of his happiest moments was when Pearl Jam played the entire 10 album at the Wells Fargo Arena. He was ecstatic. The Pearl Jam music resonated so much with him because the music was therapeutic and helped Kenny cope with some things with his upbringing and some challenges the family had faced growing up. I remember when Kenny was in the ICU after a cardiac arrest in May. I happened to be with friends that night at the Dave Matthews concert and had gotten the call right after. But when I was at the concert, Dave did an acoustic version of Just Breathe, and I remember something's not right, because I've never heard Dave do Just Breathe, and as I got home, I got a phone call at around 12:30 that he was in the ICU. So I drove down like a crazy person to Miami, and when Kenny came out of his sedation, I played it for Kenny in the hospital. You wouldn't hear his voice, but he mouthed the words to the song, and he smiled. And that was Kenny the last 7 months. No matter how hard things got, he smiled. He never complained. He was strong, and he was and will continue to be an inspiration to me and the kids. Kenny, life in the end did take your breath away, but you knew what you had and appreciated it, and I'm grateful for the 20+ years that we were together. These are the Just Breathe lyrics. Yes, I understand that every life must end. As we sit alone, I know someday we must go. Oh, I'm a lucky man to count on both hands the ones I love. Some folks just have one, yeah, others they got none. Stay with me, let's just breathe. Practice all my sins, never gonna let me win. Under everything, just another human being. Yeah, I don't wanna hurt, there's so much in this world to make me bleed. Stay with me, you're all I see. Did I say that I needed you? Did I say that I want you? Oh, if I didn't, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean, I wonder every day as I look upon your face, everything you gave and nothing you would take. Nothing you would take, everything you gave. Did I say that I needed you? Oh, did I say that I wanted you? Oh, if I didn't, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me as I come clean. Nothing you would take, everything you gave. Hold me till I die, meet you on the other side. The morning Kenny passed, there was a double rainbow over the house. And I left the picture down there, but I'll show it to you. And I know that was a sign that he was okay. And Kenny, I'll meet you on the other side of that rainbow one day. I will love you forever, and I miss you terribly. You were and are my everything. Yes, you can. Go ahead. Take a deep breath.
I feel like I'm cutting time.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and supporting me and my family. It means so much to us. My dad will forever be my best friend, even if I'm carrying him in my heart. He was the funniest, most dramatic person I've ever met, but he was the best dad any little girl could ask for. Oh, and his hugs were just the best. They brought me instant comfort. I remember my dad coaching my softball team when I was 7, and he has never missed a game since or checked on me after practice. He was my #1 supporter and encouraged me to be better at this sport that I love. Now that he is gone, I'm playing for him. Every time I'm out on that field, it's for him. Every summer we spend by the Jersey Shore, those memories will forever be cherished. I now know that he did not need 45 minutes to digest his food before we went into the water. He actually just wanted to take a break from me. All of the little memories seem so big now, like him holding me down when I was screaming to get my flu shots, or holding my hand when the plane took off because he knew that it made me nervous. The thought of my dad not walking me down the aisle, not meeting his grandkids haunts me. I know that my dad is so proud of me and is forever watching over me. But why him? Why my dad? I love you to the moon and back. Love, Avers.
My dad was the best dad ever. He always was there for me to listen and give me advice. He taught me to be who I am, which is to be a strong person, and to be confident of who I am. He coached me in basketball while I was on a travel and rec team. He taught me to be competitive but to have fun. He came to every one of my games, basketball, soccer, and flag football. We had the best time watching the Eagles game. One of the highlights was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. We were so happy and ran to City Hall in the Center City to celebrate. Sixers, Phillies, we always had the best times, going to games and watching them. One of my favorite times was when we would watch Red Zone and he would cook a steak dinner. We always would make a joke about how he's going to be on Beat Bobby Flay show. He taught me these 2 words, Mamba mentality. That taught me to always be tough and inspirational. You were with me from head to toe. When you died, a part of me died. And I hold my heart. No, will never go away. I'll never forget you, Dad. I love you forever. Love you, Dad.
Good, Max. Is that it? Yeah. Come on, Max. We're gonna go down, okay? I know. Max, come on, sweetheart. We're gonna go downstairs.
I need to sit down. Mom, help. Oh, no, my feet. Help.
We now call Lisa Bremer, Kenny's sister.
Thank you all for coming. As most of you know, I was the only granddaughter on both sides, and so I was a tad spoiled, to say the least. My brother came when I was 4, and I was not happy about it at all. And my mom had a baby nurse, and she'd always say, "Aren't you proud of your little brother?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "Then don't be proud." And that became a big joke. But of course, I'm proud of my little brother. And I remember him with great fondness. Summers down at LBI with the Greens, acting all goofy and just having lots of fun. My parents, Kenny was a terrible eater. Most people know that when he was little. He only ate Hershey bars, Coke, Breyers, God forbid, not Breyers, chocolate chip mint, ice cream, and Raisin Bran and Cheerios. My parents let us eat whatever we wanted, except for sugar cereal. But meanwhile, that was Kenny's diet. So I remember going up to Grandma Pauline and Pop-Up Milton's house, and she would always have Captain Crunch for us with crunch berries. And we were so psyched because we felt like we were getting away with murder. And my mom never said a word. She just let us eat box after box. Kenny and I became very close in the past couple years. And I treasure that time that I had with him. There was a lot of closure and reconciliation and true love. He always called me Clarice. I don't know if that's a good thing. but he was my Hannibal. And we'll one day share that glass of Chianti together. He was a wonderful husband, and he was so happy when he met Sharon. I'll just never forget it, as long as I live. And he was a wonderful father to Evers, who he beyond adored. He was definitely Daddy's little girl. And then a few years later to what we called them the mush, our Max the Cracks. He loved you guys very, very much. He talked about you constantly. Fortunately, I was able to come to some games in Florida and watch you guys play. I just want to end by saying that sorry. I'm relieved you're in peace and you're with Mom and Dad. And just, I love you. I miss you very much. Thank you.
We now invite Lee, Jay, Andy, and Rob Green, Kenny's cousins.
Okay. Just shows you the time that has passed, and now I can't read without reading glasses. So this is going to be tough, but as I sat down, to write a few words about Kenny, there were just too many memories to organize. I've literally known Kenny all my life. As far back as I can physically remember, Kenny became another brother to us. He was not perfect, but he was the perfect cousin because he fit in perfectly. We spent almost every holiday together. Whether the location was Cherry Hill, Edison, Watchung, Highland Park, or Monroe, no matter what time the food was served, afterwards was our time to be boys. During Thanksgiving in Watchung, we watched football and played ping pong in the basement. With every ping pong tournament, somehow wrestling became part of the activity. Whether in Cherry Hill or Edison, our mothers would dress us up only to see us become sweaty and dirty from playing football, basketball, or even soccer if a ball was available. And what are boys to do when visiting their grandmother at a 55 and over community? We found a tennis ball and played tackle football on the golf course behind our grandmother's house. We were so into the game that Kenny tackled Jay into the tightly cut fairway for a loss, but broke his collarbone in the process. During our teenage years, we were still acting like children at family gatherings. However, our time together was taking on new meaning. In 1990, the Green, Schwartz, Kravitz families decided to have one last vacation together in Beach Haven. Jason, Kenny, and I walked around LBI as teenagers for the first time, looking for fun and independence. We weren't just cousins anymore. We were very close friends. About this time, Kenny and I began our sports rivalry. He was Philly to the core, but I was not, and told him I never would be. Whether it was Eagles versus Redskins, Phillies versus Mets, Sixers versus Knicks, and later on Maryland versus Rutgers, we always reminded each other whose team was better. And to Kenny's credit, pretty much the Phillies teams were always better. Together we saw the Phillies take on the Mets at Citizens Bank, as well as Citi Field. We saw the Sixers take on the Brooklyn Nets at the Wells Fargo Center. And with Rutgers and Maryland entering the Big Ten together, we were able to see both schools play in football and basketball at Rutgers Stadium as well as the Rutgers Athletic Center. And again, to Kenny's credit, Maryland won every single time. The most special of all the moments was when we got together with our newly formed families. Our children became as close as cousins could be, with vacations in Ocean City, family parties in Cherry Hill, or day trips down to Philly or up as when the Schwartzes would come up to East Brunswick. Circumstances were not easy, and getting together was never simple, but we got it done. But Kenny, our story will not end here. There are simply just too many good times to be had. The most powerful trait that Kenny and I shared was our ability to laugh, not only at our dysfunctional families, but at ourselves. Even in the worst of times, we always found a way to laugh. So when I was writing these words, I just kept laughing. Even in the stories that I'm not telling you today because they're just not appropriate for this audience. But that is why I know Kenny will always be present, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 50 years from now.
Kenny was our fifth brother. I think that best describes how much he meant to us and how much we loved him. As kids, we just loved being around him every opportunity we had, whether it was Edison, Cherry Hill, Watchung, weddings, bar mitzvahs, games, you name it. We always picked up right where we left off and usually involved some very juvenile humor and a lot of horsing around. I always looked up to him like an older, cooler brother and always wanted his approval and attention. It meant so much to me. As we got older and we grew into men, I admired him even more for the example that he set for all of us, for his strength and his positive attitude in dealing with the often many challenges that he faced in his life and growing up and at home. He was caring and thoughtful. Whenever he got together, his focus was on me and my family and wanting to know how we're doing. Or he'd surprise me and send a nice text message with a congratulations or words of encouragement on a special occasion or a new job. And that was always meant a lot to me to know that he was thinking of us. Above all, he was such a loving and dedicated father and husband. He was a role model for me when I got married and started a family. I am a better father and husband by watching Kenny. When Uncle Steve passed away, Kenny told me that Uncle Steve told him to always keep moving forward. And I know that Kenny would want us to do that, and he'd want us to keep laughing along the way. There's a huge hole in our hearts in our lives, but Kenny will always be with us. We love him.
Kenny was my fourth older brother, and growing up, the gentlest. Sorry, guys. It's true. Gentlest maybe because in reality, we generally only saw each other on holidays and other special occasions where there were higher standards of behavior and a bit nicer attire, although that didn't always get in the way of some backyard tackle football and the like, as you've already heard about. But gentlest maybe also because he was, in fact, a deeply kind, caring, and sentimental individual. The latter explanation came to me somewhat gradually over the years. Despite Kenny being a fixture of my life from day one, my understanding of and appreciation for the caliber and nuance of his character continually evolved and grew. I remember him vividly as a fun and quirky kid who could somehow eschew our Aunt Sandy's home-cooked Thanksgiving fare in favor of straight-from-the-can jellied cranberry sauce by the plateful. The same kid also generously and patiently taught me essential life skills such as racing head-to-head in Excite Bike on an original Nintendo, which some here might know, some might not. Classic game. But he bestowed upon me a wealth of other valuable knowledge as well on 80s movies, WWF wrestling, among other things. But from there, Kenny grew into a man of true substance, and his values would show through in ways that were humbling and guiding for me. It's worth noting that that aforementioned picky eater became quite an impressive cook, whose brisket I wish I could have mail-ordered. At the same time, he did stay true to his kashrut, which he proudly did, reflecting a deep connection he maintained with his heritage. I learned the most from him about family. In particular, I'll never forget about our conversations about children. At a time when I was young and in absolutely no rush to have kids of my own, I was awed and inspired by the way he spoke of Ava and Max. About the enormity and intensity of his love for them and how profoundly he relished his bond with them. There's absolutely nothing like it, he simply told me. That love, that bond is present in this room today and will forever follow Sharon, Ava, and Max. Kenny, you are sorely missed, but still surely felt.
I also need readers these days. I'm doing a lot of laughing and crying. But Kenny was so much more than a first cousin. We, along with my brothers, were peas in the same pod and partners in crime, going as far back as I can remember. Throughout our entire lives, we spent holidays together, vacation at the Jersey Shore, and so much more. Yeah, as kids, neither one of us behaved like we were straight out of central casting. We were always works in progress. We gave our parents just enough anxiety about how we behaved, but we always had fun, and our parents always made sure that we got together, like for the holidays, down the Jersey Shore, and so many great life events. We were like brothers that didn't fight. Ken and I both had a very warped sense of humor and always had a great time together, mostly laughing. And this is some recurring themes here as far as the holidays, but among Ken's many talents, he was a perfect comedic foil for a lot of people, in particular his father, our beloved Schwartz. This was especially true during the holidays, in particular the Passover Seders. Yeah, my Uncle Steve, he really was a beleaguered leader of the Seder because of Kenny. Yeah, he could not get through a page without Kenny with a zinger, or Kenny doing this like they do on like the late night talk shows. But he was a natural, an absolute natural, and he had the whole table in stitches, much to Schwartz's expense. Yeah, and I know this is the third time this is going to be mentioned, but he was a great cook, and the brisket was all we would talk about because it really was that good. And of course, his mother, my beloved Aunt Sharon, was also a great cook. And despite the fact that Kenny would never eat, her delicious food, I looked up to Kenny on a lot of things. And there were some times where he would seek out my input. Like years ago, we were going to a family wedding, and he asked me, should we go tie or no tie? I answered him very quickly, no tie. And we were the only two men that night without a tie. But just want to, Sharon, I just want to tell you that through your literally tireless advocacy and constant companionship over the past year, but particularly when he was in the hospital, you did everything you possibly could, and you made his final months at least bearable. And you should always know that. And Ava and Max, you were your dad's greatest pride and joy, and he will always be there in spirit for all of your many accomplishments, all your life milestones. And he loves you deeply, and you know that. I just want to say, goodbye, Kenny. We will miss you, and we will always love you. Thank you.
We now invite Sid Greenfeig, David Pugash, and Doug Madnick, Kenny's friends.
So I'm fortunate to be able to call Kenny one of my closest friends for nearly 35 years. Kenny and I met in our youth group and quickly became good friends, along with others who are here today. We saw each other evolve and grow from teenagers into adulthood. We shared many experiences along the way: college, concerts, the beach house, navigating the workforce, and of course, having families. There was and is a real brotherhood between us and our other friends. Kenny and I also had the good fortune of talking frequently during our commutes to and from work. We listened to and supported each other, but mostly these were just great, fun conversations, and I cherished them deeply. Because of that, I have certain insights into Kenny that I also want to share. As you've heard from others already, I want to talk about Kenny's great love. Don't worry, this won't get weird. I'll save that for Sid. We all love Kenny, and Kenny loved us. Kenny had introverted tendencies, but Kenny loved and valued his relationships. For examples, one of Kenny's favorite things about working in IT was cracking jokes with people and solving their problems. He shared bonds with people from Marriott that have endured long after he stopped working there. Over the years, Kenny regaled his friends with stories about his grandma Pauline talking to rock stars and other great family experiences that he cherished. But for over the past 20 years, Kenny's love was most on display with Sharon, Ava, and Max. Kenny's world revolved around the three of you. He spoke his mind if he thought that someone was unkind to one of you, but Kenny was also very, very proud of all of you. Kenny relished Sharon's professional accomplishments and her adult bat mitzvah. He took special pride in Ava's and Max's many milestones and activities. There are probably very few people here who have not received a video from Kenny showing Ava getting a hit in softball or Max breaking someone's ankles on the ball court. We all miss Kenny, but one thing that's important to do is to think about what Kenny would want. That's one of the things that many of us have been talking about the last few days. What would Kenny want? Kenny would want us to remember the joy in life. Kenny would also want us to remember the joy that he gave to all of us. For Ava and Max especially, remember all of the fun that you have had with your dad and the values that he taught you. Remember how much he loved you and how much he would want you to be there for each other and to look out for your mom. And for the rest of us, let us take comfort in knowing that we are better off for having Kenny in our lives. Thank you.
I'm going to let Sid do the talking.
All of us in this room have had friends, and some of us are lucky enough to have that one friend. You know the one I'm talking about. The friend that you can talk to every day, once a week, or once a year, and it always felt like it's where you left off. The kind of friend where you can say anything with zero filter, and there was no judgment coming your way. The one who shares so many inside jokes that when half your conversations are just reciting the same goofy things we've been saying for decades. Kenny was that one friend for me. I've made a lot of friends, all different places that I've lived over the years, but Kenny remained my best friend. We had inside jokes that spanned over 30 years, and honestly, we probably annoyed everybody around us. We met many years ago at the JCC camps when we were teenagers, and the inside jokes started from there. One that I will never forget is when Kenny told me he broke up with his first girlfriend, and she told him how long their relationship lasted. It is a series of numbers that has been etched in our brains forever. I don't remember her name until last night when Doug reminded me, but I will never forget those numbers. By the way, that was 9 months, 1 week, 4 days, 8 hours, and 22 minutes. If Kenny was here, he would have laughed and given me this kind of look. But, these jokes stuck with us through the years, and sometimes it was the only things that we would say to each other in conversations and text. It was as if that was what kept us young and from where we were. Even during his last days, those jokes stayed with us. I got to visit him in the hospital about a month ago, and it felt like nothing has changed. We saw each other, we made each other laugh, and did everything we do to keep things normal, even though they weren't. The best moment of all when we were there was when I was able to convince him to do a FaceTime with Doug and Dave. It was a brief window that we had, and it was the one time that we were able to see Kenny once again, his old self. We told the same dumb jokes, we laughed as we always did, and we probably got a few eye rolls from the nurses in the room. But if you weren't in on our jokes, you just thought we were rude. Kenny had a huge heart, though you might not think so if you were with him behind the wheel. And God help you if you cut him off in traffic. But truly, when it came to his friends, and especially his family, he would do anything. We'd talk about life, and he would say, as long as I have my family, the rest will work out. If I asked him about work, he would brush it off and say, work is work. But if I asked him about Sharon, Max, or Ava, his face would light up, and he would tell me stories and what everyone was up to. That is what he lived for. Kenny also had a second love, Philadelphia sports, as everyone has talked about. This man was loyal to the Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, and unfortunately the Eagles. I had to get that in there, Doug. He watched every game. He knew every stat. He believed in those teams no matter what the rough things that they went through. And let's be honest, Philly fans, there's been a lot of rough years. But when the Phillies won the World Series, he was so happy. And don't get me started when the Eagles finally won a Super Bowl. He talked so much shit to me, but I loved every minute of it. It's hard to say goodbye to my one friend. I'm going to miss our talks about sports, life, and food. I'm going to miss his smile, his laughter, and how he could go from calm to fired up in 5 seconds. I'll miss his stubbornness and the way he trusts me, albeit reluctantly, to try new things. I know this isn't really goodbye. Kenny will always be with me in some way and probably cracking jokes for me up there. All I hope is that he saves a spot for me on the couch. I love you, KK.
We're in the High Holy Day season. We'll welcome the new Jewish year in just a couple of days. At this time of year, our tradition insists that we confront the realities of life and death. We pray for our own health and well-being in the year to come. We pray that the new year will be a good one for us and for our loved ones. But what do we do when we enter the new year in just 2 days, carrying so much loss, knowing how deep the despair of losing someone so close to us, someone like Kenny, can be? How do we think about anything yet to come? The only thing we can do is pray that our experience, our knowledge of loss, allows us to commit to life. We commit to find the way to live each day like we don't know how much time we have. We hug. We say, I love you. We prioritize our relationships. We focus on what we know really matters. We cherish the parts of life that Kenny cherished, the things that were most important to him, the things he said were the only things he needed. Because Kenny knew what makes a day a good one and what makes life worth living. He knew that was his family, spending time with them, showing them how important they all were to his life. Sharon, Ava, Max, his parents, his sister Lisa, his aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends who were chosen family. As we've heard, that was cooking. That was coaching. That was the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies. Nothing feels more alive than joining thousands of strangers and friends united by fandom. That was going to the beach and knowing when you have water, a surfboard, and a chair in the sand, you have all you need. Kenny will remind us. The pain of remembering him will remind us when we need reminding of what an authentic, grounded life looks like. And from the pain of remembering him, we will rededicate ourselves to living. We can make this new year and everything yet to come shine with Kenny's light. As Chana Senesh wrote, his memory will light our world. For a moment of silent reflection, Sharon wanted us to hear a live recording from a Pearl Jam concert in Philly that Kenny attended, because he attended all of them, of Just Breathe, the song that she read earlier. This song gave Kenny comfort because he was no stranger to challenge in his life, and he emerged from that challenge able to focus on what grounded him, and this song spoke to him in that spirit. And now, whenever you hear this song in the future, it will be Kenny's light again, shining the way. Just breathe.
Yes, I understand that every life must end. So as we sit alone, I know someday we must go on. Yeah, I'm a lucky man to count on both hands the ones I love. Some folks, they got one, yeah, others, they got none. Stay with me, oh, let's just breathe. Practiced on my skins, never gonna let me win. Wonder everything, just another human being. Yeah, I don't wanna hurt. There's so much in this world to make me believe. Stay with me, you're all I see. Did I say that I need you? Oh, did I say that I want you?
Please rise for the memorial prayer. El male rachamim shechen bamromim hametzeim ruchanachana tachat kanfei hashchina im kiddoshim utehorim kezohar harakiam mashirim et nishmat hilarachum ben sarachana v'shlomo hirsch shahalach leolamo Baal harachamim yastirehu besete knafav leolamim Yisroel b'Yisroel achayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Kenny Schwartz, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say,